All right. This recording was a few months ago, probably in the summer or something. Um, hmm. What I'm looking to do here is basically clear up some things because the way it kind of went down, I'm not really proud of it. That's not has nothing to do with really being proud of what it was. It's just that I was kind of high and I wasn't able to clarify certain things during that recording. So I'm just gonna play it and I'll just put my commentary on it. Here we go.
Thoughts, and we're gonna start with D Wolf.
Whoa, okay. Well, I didn't have anything, but the first topic gave me something. So, I understand this might be hard, but I understand a lot of people they don't like their ball taken away. So, I'm going to tell you something I believe and what I know. One thing I believe, the earth is round. Another thing I believe, the earth is flat. One thing I know, this is not a fucking sphere. This is not a sphere. Now I have a question. Why do you think, or do you know, or do you believe that the earth is a sphere?
That's one thing. One problem I had with this recording is that I cursed a bit much, so apologies.
I don't have to answer for that. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I know Neil deGrasse Tyson had something he explained on Comedy Central like a while ago when Kyrie
Mm-hmm.
Irving first talked about the flat. But
I'm gonna give
other
you.
than that,
Mm-hmm.
other than that, I can't tell you.
Anyone else?
Because the teacher said so. Yeah.
Because what? Say because what?
Because the teacher said so. Miss Catan is right all the
Right.
time. If you try to
Okay.
disagree with my teacher, we can be
Next.
fighting.
Stone Cold said so too.
Yeah, that
Because
was my
Stone Cold said
answer.
so.
I'll tell you that. That was my answer. Anyone
That's
else
the
can tell me
bottom
why they
line.
believe the Earth is a sphere?
Because that's what we was told, and we
Okay.
assume because the moon is round or appears round
Mm-hmm.
or a sphere. So I guess we assume that this is too.
I mean, what else would it be if it's not a sphere?
Level, just a level plane. Now I'll tell you. Okay, so let me know. How fast is the Earth spinning at the equator?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay, so you see. Okay, and how fast is it orbiting the sun?
It's orbiting the sun. That's all I know.
Okay, you just know this because this is what was shown to you and what was told to you, but you don't. And it's funny how you see how it's easy to ridicule people who believe this, where people don't know the own model that they believe in. You know, I know the answers to this, but I don't believe it. I know it's not real because it makes zero sense, and I've done the math. It makes zero sense. You understand? And now I'm going to use this dude, Neil deGrasse Tyson, as a perfect example. Now, I've flown in a plane. Anyone here have you ever seen curvature?
Okay. Before I continue on with this, I want you guys to just clear your mind of what you've been taught. Okay? Because you seen how this started. The reaction was kind of rough, you know. Because if you played it, I'll drop the link to the whole show so you know how the beginning of the show started with when they're talking about Kyrie Irving discussing the flat Earth. Yeah, you see the reactions to that, right? So that in itself is a problem because we're going based off of what we were taught, what we were bombarded with, but not what we know or discovered ourselves. Because it's kind of crazy that you in anything, not just this topic, but anything, that you can defend it to the death without knowing anything about it. You just know that, or think or believe that something exists because everybody else believes the same thing and you're taught the same thing, but you didn't check it, verify it, or see it. So a lot of times you didn't even see it for yourself. You just know based off of hearsay and things that can be manipulated on the screen or even a textbook. It could be a valid textbook, but you yourself has never verified this, and you fight it to the death. That type of reaction should be from, if you know for sure, like you've seen it, you tested it, majority of the five senses it, then you should go hard on the ridicule or the laughter, like no. But if you have not verified this yourself, this is what people need to do. They need to just chill for a second, because it's not the end of the world. There's a huge possibility that whoever's telling you this could be wrong. Your job here is to listen, get their point of view of it, and just go verify it yourself. Make sure you could defeat that, because it's their burden of proof to basically change your mind on something. So just listen and see what you can know, because you cannot fight against what they're telling you, where that person has looked it up and told you, but you have no idea. You just believe it straight up and you're ready to jump on them. This is a problem a lot of people have, and this needs to stop, because we could go a long way. So let's continue.
Curvature.
Actually haven't flown on the plane yet.
Okay. Has
I know
anyone?
I know a stripper named Curvature, but other than that, no.
Okay.
You know what?
Ray,
Go sit in the corner.
you're the greatest.
Well, there are
Go sit in the
That was
corner.
a perfect answer.
So there are people who will say that they've been on a plane and seen the curve, right? And the plane flies at, let's say, 10 miles up, and they've said they've seen the curve, right? But there are plenty of scientists who says, no, that's not true. It's that you got to go higher than that to see a curve. No. What you're seeing is the bend of the window, the way it's designed on the plane. So it's going to make you see a curve. That's how it is. That's what was explained. So when I heard that the very first time, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So of course you got to go higher to see a curve. I mean, look at the size of the fucking planet. Come on. Right? Okay. So now we have the Red Bull high jump. Okay. Now that jump was at 120,000 feet. The man who did that jump said he saw the curve, right? But there's a whole bunch of people saying, no. A whole bunch of flat earthers are saying, no, because they put up a balloon that was a bit higher than that, and their camera did not catch a curve. And they kept proving it. Not long after that, Neil deGrasse Tyson, now he's on a show and he has like a big beach ball mock-up of the planet spherical Earth, right? So what I noticed about him and a whole bunch of these so-called scientists, they move the goalpost all the time. Every time we catch them, they move the goalpost. So now Neil is saying, no, Felix, the guy that jumped off the high jump, the Red Bull high jump that went up to 120,000 feet. Neil deGrasse Tyson said Felix didn't see a curve. That was his fisheye lens. He got confused. No. You know how far how close you still are to the Earth? That shit is flat. This is what he said in this term. That thing is flat.
By the way, Neil claims that by that height that Felix went to is, if you were to compare it with an apple, you're barely off of the skin of the apple. Barely. Not even an inch. Way less than an inch. Barely off the skin of an apple, which is why you can't see the curve, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, by the way. And you have to keep in mind, I think I'm going to say this later in this, but this is the go-to guy. I used to tune into that dude. I listened to Star Talk on the daily. So understand, I deep dived in everything he was saying to us. And then later on, I was able to just be like, yo, I was believing in bullshit this whole time. Okay, and also keep in mind that he had plenty of opportunities to debate flat earthers, and I think there was one time he was supposed to do a debate on Joe Rogan, and he basically bowed out and then claimed, oh, he doesn't have time to do it yet. And this is brought up a lot. Yet he will spend a lot of time on his show and podcast making fun of the flat earth or flat earthers. Now, if you're gonna do that, why don't you just crush somebody in person? You know, if you have nothing to be afraid of, the whole world, you know, basically believes it's a ball. So, yo, let's rake in some extra money showing, because that would be fun, right? Like, if I was still a ball earther, I'd tune into that and be like, yo, Neil, crush this stupid mother, you know? That's what I would, that's what I would like. But he refuses to do that, and you have to question now, why is that? Why do they keep bowing out? But they still have our names in their mouths though, you know? So yeah.
You're not gonna see that. You gotta go higher to see a curve, right? But mind you, there are people who swear they're seeing curves like lower than that. Scientists, so-called scientists, saying. But remember, Neil deGrasse Tyson is the guy you look to. Remember, his word is law. So no, you ain't gonna hear no other scientists, but you're gonna hear him. You're gonna believe him. His word means more than anyone else you'll ever hear. So that's what he says. Now fast forward to Richard Branson, who went even higher than that, 63 miles, right? Richard now saying he saw a curve. People are saying, no, I sent something up higher than that. We sent up a rocket that actually went all the way to the top. No curve, higher than 63 miles. Now fast forward.
I think planes, just keep in mind, keep in perspective, planes fly at 5 miles up. Okay, a little more than 5 miles up, average. So keep in mind what you see when you look down, you know, and also consider the fact that the windows are curved, but you don't see, you know, a dynamic curvature, right? Even with the curved windows. Now, check what's happening here. This is 65 miles up. So keep this in mind as you listen.
There's an interview. People are asking Neil deGrasse Tyson because they're going to want his input because Richard Branson from Virgin said he went and saw it. Now Neil is saying, oh, no, you can't see a curve from all the way up there. No, you know how far, you know how close that is still to the earth? Now, how many times are you going to move this goalpost? Now, you all remember the Universal pictures, right? You know, we always see the earth spin.
Yeah, the logo.
Right. Okay, think about this. Universal started in 1923 or something, or 21, somewhere around there. Right, and around like between 1940 to 50, they had a perfect picture of the globe. Perfect. When did NASA go into space? When did anyone go into space? What year did that happen?
That was around the 50s, right?
60s. Well, I think Russia did it in the 50s, maybe, but yeah, the 60s, right? How the fuck?
Again, part of the language.
In 1920, do you know what color, everything, how this fucking planet looked from up there? How you know exactly where each continent fits perfectly? But we're getting images from space that basically looks like a better version of the universal pictures. There's nothing skewed. There's no continent that's maybe a little shifted this way because it could have been wrong, you know? This is a mock-up. This was clay back then. This was a clay mock-up at the time during those movies. But somehow it suddenly matches exactly what we so-called, what we supposedly see from satellites in space. You know, again, this is stuff we're taught, and I'm telling, okay, and here's probably the last thing. All right, and this is something I found out that was profound. No one was taught about the globe until after 1920. No one was.
Yeah, I need to fix that. So we were being taught that. That was an idea of like a long time ago. I think the Greeks were teaching that, and or probably the Romans. I don't remember which one, but it was an idea, but it wasn't agreed upon as the default. That was their own actual religion. That was heliocentrism. You had to be down with them in order to believe. It's like believing in a religion and going by those rules, and that's what you stick with. Not everybody believed it. It was like a sect. That's how it worked. So, because throughout history, that's how the maps were. A circle. Just a circle. Not a ball. A circle. They introduced that because they believed in heliocentrism. They believed they were worshiping the sun, and they had to make sure the sun was the center and not the earth itself to make us small. Okay, it did not last. There's no you can. I don't think you could find anything of concrete of that being agreed upon by all civilization. For throughout human civilization, it was always just them, not the whole world. So I would say majority rules here. Okay? But I'm going to continue with this. I just wanted to fix that part because that part's not true.
Saying it was being taught, and not until the 1960s in some countries, both models were taught. The flat and the globe, because so many things was going around saying, wait, how come there's a spinning earth in the movie studio? Why are they saying this, and so it wasn't until recently. Then all of a sudden, remember, who's in charge of education? The Rockefellers. Who put that shit in? Right? Because there are people who live, that centenarians, people who were born in the early 1900s, who will tell you, we were taught it was flat, or they didn't even mention no fucking model at all. They were just talking about, oh, this country's here, this country's there, and it was always on a flat map. It was called the AE map. It's the same map that you see it on a whole bunch of companies, and the main one I want y'all to focus on is the UN map. That's the exact map that hit throughout history, and I mean from ancient history to the 1920s, that everyone was looking at before
this
NASA
was the default.
Old people will tell you this, and they will tell you that there was a point where there was both. And when they said NASA went into space and they went on the moon, we just figured, oh, I guess we got the model wrong. But these are generations of people. People were born into learning about a globe or both, and which one's right, and this and the other. So now we know. Now with this, we have when you went to kindergarten, you were taught about the planets immediately. It's one of the first things you're taught outside of the alphabets. So it's understandable, because it was hard for me. Trust me, I'm a sci-fi writer. It was hard. It was very understandable why you don't want to let go of your ball. You don't want anyone to take it away from you.
It was difficult, but I had questions though. Because I was just believing it because I love sci-fi. I love space travel tales, yo. That was it, yo. So I was basically using mental gymnastics to justify what they were telling me. I didn't, because, all right, I don't think I said this in this. So I used to hear about Flat Earth. I used to come across those videos back in the day. But two things used to rub me the wrong way. One was they were fucking assholes, right? The way Flat Earthers would go, they were so arrogant and assholeish. I couldn't deal, like, y'all don't have to be like this, yo. So something's wrong. Right now, I don't trust you because of how y'all acting. Mr. Know-it-alls, right? That was one thing. And that was in the early days. It's not that bad now. but that was back in those days. But the other thing was the whole atmosphere thing. Yeah, I mean, I get the yeah. I wonder if I touch on that in this. But anyway, the whole gravity thing does not hold water. No pun intended. How? Okay, how do you hold this? That part just could not. I just did not jive with me. But I let myself believe that part. I just let myself how do you not vacuum of space? Atmosphere. You know, they should, in my opinion, they should have just stamped down on the line that we're in a bubble, and there's a firmament, but it's a spherical firmament. That would have helped the globe argument a lot. But the whole vacuum thing, because every time I think of a space launch, I'm like, okay, is there a layer that piercing through? How come there's no suction when the ship leaves or something crashes down? Then there's no, you know, when you do that out down here, when you do experiments down here, where they deal with pressure tests and vacuum tests, it equalizes instantly, right? Why can't that happen out there? Like, why does Earth just maintain everything? And you cannot use gravity alone. You can, and this is a theory. So something has to give here. That just bothered me, and I could never figure that out. But the way that now there's nothing to think about. There's no mental gymnastics required here. It just makes sense that there is a firmament. You cannot leave this place. That's all there is. Well, physically, anyway. You know, because you can't make that work in your head. Try to make it work in your head, even when they say gravity. Then look at the world around you. Look how things work. Look at the different elements. Look at gases, liquids. You know, just think about that. Think of how it works here, and think about how big of a difference it will make when you have a void outside, but we're trapped here. You have planets, as they tell us, that's just gas, just purely gas, and that just maintains on its own. Where does that? How do you get that gravitational pull in the center to pull in a void of how do you do that? You need a foundation to pull down. You need that. So where does this coalescing come from? How does that work? It can't be spin. You can't know. No, because if you spin, you're spinning outward. You're making a spiral and it's spreading out, just like how they show us a galaxy is always a spiral. And then I guess their way to fix that was to throw in a black hole type of deal. But the whole black hole, where does this come from? How does that work? Where does this suction come from nothing, and why are they scattered? Why isn't it just one? If it would make more sense if it was just one central black hole. But you have a whole bunch of that separated. You on your own cannot figure that out. It's an impossibility. There's no way of trying to fix. They're just gonna throw scientific words at you, and you still can't fathom it. But what I've discovered, and what plenty of flat earthers discovered, you can make sense of it very easily. You're not gonna hurt your head. You can hurt. It will take time and some effort to figure it out, but you will eventually figure it out. You will be able to test it and see, oh yeah, actually yes, that works. That experiment works. But this, remember, these are theories. They can't. And I want you guys to keep in mind when you watch this, because I am telling you, I used to be obsessed with the Science Channel, y'all. But look at that. When they say stuff, ask yourself, how do they know that? You listen to something they say, and you have to ask yourself, how do they know that? Then you'll ask yourself, or dig in to see how they figure that out. All they'll tell you is just pure observation. All they'll tell you is just theory. All they'll tell you is just math, not anything tangible. They didn't do anything. They didn't do anything physical to figure this out. Okay? I don't think damn. PC froze on me. I'll take that as a sign to shut up and let this thing play. So, carrying on.
Have once, when you went to kindergarten, you were taught about the planets immediately. It's one of the first things you're taught outside of the alphabets. So it's understandable because it was hard for me. Trust me, I'm a sci-fi writer. It was hard. It was very understandable why you don't want to let go of your ball. You don't want anyone to take it away from you. But it makes no sense when you really look at what they told us is going on and the way they speak when you watch the Science Channel and stuff like that. Sometimes you have to be like,
wizardry
how
spells.
how do you know about a Big Bang? Who said this? That was a priest, by the way, who worked with the Rockefellers, who was a Jesuit, who mentioned the Big Bang for the first time and put it into our heads throughout all education. And another thing, gravity is a theory. Ask any fucking scientist, they'll tell you it's a theory. They'll tell you dark matter, but it's a theory. So there's nothing that proves a goal. That's why I know we don't live on a globe. I believe we live on a flat level plane because I have not gone far enough to verify it myself. I don't know this could be a whole fucking simulation for all I know.
I think I've upgraded from believe since then.
You know, so I cannot tell you something I have not seen myself or that does not make sense. I can't tell you that for a fact that I know it's level, but all signs show that it is. So that's why I believe it. But everything else that's being told to us, every picture that we see, the stars and shit, when you look at the stars yourself, I have a telescope. You look at stars yourself, it's nothing like they show in the movies on NASA's website. Does not look like that. I remember I was in LA not too long ago and Jupiter was next, like not too far from the moon. And I was like, come on, son, it does not look like that. You seen Saturn? Yeah, there's a ring around it, but it does not look like what we're given, you know? But this doesn't take away, this is the other thing I have to say, this doesn't take away my love for space travel movies and TV shows. I'll fucking write another one if I have to. I don't mind, you know? But I'm not going to deny where I live because it just makes no sense. And that's what broke the Matrix for me. You know, that was the last thing that made me say, oh, fuck everything these motherfuckers on TV.
Yeah, because if they're lying about this, they're lying about almost everything. Or if not lying, like they're twisting truths. To the very least, that's what they're doing. God. And you have to keep in mind, when it comes to the lie, because a lot of people are like, why would they lie? And they're like, that's too big of a lie for everybody. Like, we would have been heard all this. So first of all, when we do tell you, or if somebody of credibility does tell you something like this, you ridicule them and call them crazy. Even if it's somebody from, let's say, that organization, they will tell you, or their colleagues who are down with it or oblivious will start calling them crazy. So where do you win here? Where do you win? Right? And you also have to consider the fact that these institutions are compartmentalized. These people that work for NASA and the government and certain politicians, they don't even know. These things, something like this is need to know. You have to be at a certain level. Okay, so that's why you will have a relative or a friend or something like that will work for these agencies and not know this, not know the lie. How are you going to tell everyone? If you have to keep a big secret, like, you're not going to tell everyone that works for you. How long would that last? How long would that lie last? If they go through the effort of putting these things in our heads from childhood, why would you take the chance with anyone that's not of a certain level? There are smart people, there are dumb people out there, and a lot of dumb people are capable of certain things. When I say not dumb, stupid, or you know, not at their level. There are too many people that will let things slip out, or just can't take it anymore. These people are vetted. But if you're smart enough at an intelligent level to do the work that they require to push this lie, or for the technology needed and stuff like that, they're gonna hire you, but they ain't gonna tell you. You gotta think before you start throwing things like that. Oh, it's too big a lie, or things like that. Yo, think. What would you do? Would you go telling everybody that works for you? Would you? You're gonna take that chance of some bribery or something like that, or too many people that will group together and be like, oh, guess what? This was a whole lot. You're not gonna take that chance. You're gonna compartmentalize this thing and have things set up to make sure that these things are dispelled, or certain people are dispatched to stop this before it gets out. You gotta make, and there's too many people in this world to be spilling the beans like that, to let them in on your secret. Think about it. Think about what you would do if you were in that situation, if you had that power, if it was your lie.
Be safe was when I realized that, because it basically confirms a creator, because you can't have this by accident. You can have a ball. Well, that alone makes zero sense. But if we believe them, it'll take away a creator from them. It doesn't matter who you believe God is and this, that, and the other. You just cannot, or whatever your religion is, that does not matter in this case. It just solidifies that no matter what you follow, no matter what religion you follow, you can at least confirm this shit was created. And that's what they take away. So I'm just saying, don't believe me. Again, this is what I say about anything I fucking say here or online or anything like that. Look at it yourself. And I would warn you, do not Google it, because they will give you something called the Flat Earth Society. And it'll give you some...
So glad I forgot to mention that, because I ended up bringing it up here. But yeah, that part, that's another thing that got me to when I first saw it, when I first came across Flat Earth. It was a Flat Earth Society, and they make it sound so stupid that you will never look at it. So when I start talking about it and bringing it up, the examples of the Flat Earth Society are what people think of. So then that's why they'll laugh and make fun of you and make you seem crazy and make you look crazy or call you crazy. And I'm like, I can't blame them, because I was there when I first came across this. I was like, that's ridiculous. No way. Because these examples that the Flat Earth Society gives will make the ball make sense. Because how could you have a flying disc going upwards at a certain speed and not stopping, or having other spheres around you and you're the only one, but we supposedly have different creatures on different planets and stuff like that? How does that make sense? What makes us so special, unless we are special and there are no spheres, or we're not living on a ball with cousin balls or something? So, they got me in the beginning, because then I heard it again, then I started to hear real explanations, because there were certain examples that were given, like seeing too far, right? Like, you cannot catch something past a physical horizon. You can't, because I think you get, is it 3 miles? Yeah, the curvature starts at 3 miles, so anything beyond 3 miles is hidden, right? At an average height, at a person from an average height, once you look beyond 3 miles, you're not getting that back, no matter how much you zoom. According to the globe model's math and a sphere, you can't do it. You can't bring it back no matter what. And if you know, and you can know how far something is. This isn't a guessing game. You know how far something is. You can measure it yourself. You could go measure the steps back or the sail back or whatever it is, and you know how far something is. And according to that math, after 3 miles, you cannot bring it. No, if you get a camera or a telescope or something and zoom in, you cannot bring it back, because there's a physical barrier. There's a physical curve that you're behind. So what you bringing back? Just extra sky? You're bringing the sky back. You're not bringing back what went over. Not possible. Not possible. Think about it. Not possible. Try it out. Not possible. That made me think, well, come on, because the disc in space thing, though. So that will default you to what you've been taught since childhood, because you can't put two and two together with that. But when you realize that the whole disc in space flying around, pancake, this and the other, pizza disc or whatever, and balls, but we're the only flat disc. Once you realize that was a psyop, that was to be thrown in to make this look ridiculous. Now everything makes sense, you know. And I think I'm gonna come up to a point here where I talk about. Did I give a? Yeah, I think I gave the Bible reference. Like the Bible, it makes that make sense. I'm not stupid. Like I know the Bible has been fudged. I know, okay, but that's an ancient book. So did they think about making that a lie at the time they were fudging with the words in the Bible? Maybe that was too much of a general knowledge to fuck with, to not lie about. So that could be the one truth in the Bible that's been repeated over and over again, because that's like saying the earth being level is like saying water's wet in those days. Like, no duh. Because let's try this. Let's pretend you didn't learn this in school. You didn't learn about the planets and stuff like that in school. Once just rip that out of your head. Just try to do that. Just rip that out of your head, and you're just aware now. You get into that age, probably toddler age or something, where you're starting to what's the word I'm looking for? Comprehend what you see, figure out what you see and feel, right? You're aware of the world around you, right? No indoctrination, no school. Well, if you're in school, you're in school, but that part of it, the planets, that didn't exist. You're walking around this, earth. You're not thinking ball. You're thinking straight line. You're thinking if there's a curve, there's a hill over there. You already know vanishing points. You don't know what that is, the words, but you know what there is a vanishing point. You know if you're in the middle of the street, you're looking at lampposts, you know they're going and getting smaller and smaller farther you go. So you know that's why. It's just that's how far. Damn, it's freeze again. You know that's how far you can see. You're not thinking something's doing this. That's not. You're not thinking something's going over a curve. That's not entering your head at all if you weren't taught that. Because that starts to make sense when they teach that to you at that age. Because you're like, oh, that's why. Because things are getting smaller, so maybe they're going there. Especially if you're looking at a pole and it starts to shrink down to a point where the haziness of the ground due to the atmosphere, because of the way you're looking at it. Because if you're looking at atmosphere from the side view, it gets more opaque. So you're not seeing the bottom part, you're seeing just the top. That part's more clearer than the bottom. So as it goes down, you're starting to think, because they threw the ball in your head, you're starting to think, oh, it's because it's doing this, not because it's just doing that. You can test it yourself at any level, at any scale, it'll always be the same. So, yeah. Continuing.
Ridiculousness, because they'll have you believe that like the earth is going up at a certain speed. That's the government control shit that will make you say, oh, Flyer's fucking retarded. Nah. Because they'll have you believe that like the earth is going up at a certain speed and shit. They'll have you believe we're in space and you can walk off the edge like in Game of Thrones with the ice wall and shit, which is completely ridiculous. Nobody really believes that. But when you look it up, you'll be bombarded with people who do. Then you'll be like, nah, we live on a globe. Because that sounds retarded. And I would not blame you for believing that if you look that up. I'm working on a video actually that's gonna basically display this and break it down further. But if you want, I have sources that will make this make more sense to you. Because that's why I asked you these questions first as to why you believe this. And it's because you were told. Everything you know, you were told. Magnetic core. I'm sure you guys know this about magnets. If you don't know, I will tell you. At a certain.
And I also want to say, I'm not mad or throwing shade at anyone here. These guys are good guys. This crew here, all these names on this, all these names here, cool people, smart people, awakened people. All right. So I'm not mad at them at all. I'm not mad at them for believing the ball, because I was there too, so I can never get there. I don't think I'm holier than thou. You know, I just discovered something. That's all it is. Okay? I just want to make that clear because people like to go there for some reason. Okay? I'm just trying to break the matrix for them. That's all. Because this is insane. This is an insane lie that they've perpetrated, yo. It's crazy. Oh my god. Huh?
Temperature, magnets lose their charge, right? What they tell us, the heat in the
I believe that's called the Curie point. The Curie point.
center of the earth is way beyond what any magnet can fucking hold on to. But we live in a magnetic molten core. How can you have magnetic and molten in the same sentence? This makes zero sense. And how do you know that's what's below the earth, where nobody has gone below 8 miles? Nobody's dug anywhere beyond 8 miles. So, and 8 miles is basically getting halfway through the skin of an apple, if we believe their model. So how does this make sense? All these things you have to think about.
And they measured that too. They were trying to use radar to guess what was next. You know, because I would think that the people that were doing that drilling had the ball indoctrination, and I don't think they were part of that lie. So I think they were thinking, oh, I can't wait to get to the core. You know, I can't wait to get to the core. We're gonna get energy or something like that, right? But they were wrong every step of the way going down. Okay, and the reason they stopped at 7.5 miles is because they reached an impenetrable barrier, so there's nothing they had could pierce it, as far as I know. As far as my research on this particular point, they could not get beyond that barrier. And again, that example, basically barely piercing through the skin of an apple. If it was a ball, that's how far they got. Using their thinking, using whoever's listening who does not know this already, that thinking, that's how far they went down. So,
You know, so when because you gotta realize, why is this so ridiculed? Right? You just have a belief of what you live on. Does this change a basketball player's skills? Does this change what he knows? Does this change how smart he is? Or, you know, how does that change if he believes that he lives on something else compared to what you think? Whereas what you think you've been told, but he's probably done the research. He probably closes his eyes, looks outside, and like, I'm not fucking moving, so I don't believe that. It could have been simple like that, but we're gonna make fun of this person. You know? And that's all it takes, because they went after him for saying that. Why would they go hard?
yeah, that is interesting why they go so hard after this topic. But there are people that practice like certain shit. There are people who practice certain religions, right? And the things they do, you're like, oh, I can't believe in that. But you know that person personally. You know they're capable, they have a certain intelligence, they might be qualified for certain things. You don't question that. You just question their belief, but move on with everything. You don't say them, ridicule them. You save that for like a comedian on TV or something to talk about it. But you don't say that and think, oh, that's a dumb, I don't want to hear anything that person says. You don't go there when it comes to that. But for this in particular, for Flat Earth, you want to disregard this person altogether. That I find strange. And that you people need to keep in mind and ask yourselves, why is that? Why do they go so hard? on this topic in particular. Religions get a pass. You still let people do what they gotta do. You know, you might question their thinking on some things, but you're not there ridiculing them all hard body, yo. You let them do what they gotta do. They're capable of everything else you can or cannot. But for some reason, this topic alone, these things, yo, you have to think about this. You have to think about, that's the why you gotta think about. Not why the lie. I'll get to that in the end, but that you gotta be like, why is this top? No. Maybe it's because it's the world we truly live on. And that lie itself can dismantle a lot of things.
For something so silly like this. So what if he believes that? Keep playing, son. Dribble that fucking ball. So, you know, food for thought. So that's my final. That's my final thoughts.
All right, Dion is on you.
How do I follow that? Well, remember this, folks. I mean, he's not wrong.
Can we please not talk about that?
Hold on. So D Wolf. So what do you think what do you think that the Earth possibly looks like?
Just like the UN map, it works the same way. Because that's the map that was being used forever, and it works the same way.
So you think it's like a float nine, like a little?
No. That's the thing. That's what people think. That's why it seems so fucking ridiculous. Because when I first looked into it years ago, I was like, this is fucking retarded, because it makes no sense. How would it be a disc in space, and how come every other planet's a fucking sphere? This makes zero sense, you know? But no, I think we're just, all right. We are in a physical reality. That's how I see it. We're in a physical reality. What's beyond the top, I don't know. Based on my research, it could be, and the way the stars work, I don't know if what's the word for this? Where there's an experiment that was actually tried here that actually mimics how a star works, where you have a container of water, you shoot waves, you shoot electricity into it, and then bubbles will start to form, and bioluminescence. There you go, bioluminescence, and you'll see it, and it looks exactly like a star. So from that conclusion, and based on historical texts and old school maps and like the ancient world and things like that, even maps that led up to the 1900s before things started to change, it was said that it's basically water up there.
By the way, I was wrong on that. It wasn't electricity that they're shooting. It was frequency. It was sound waves they're shooting. That's why I'm of the belief, because there were documents. It was it was a Middle Eastern. I gotta find that. It was like based on a Middle Eastern discovery that that space is basically sound. That's what's beyond the firmament, sound. So if there's a certain frequency directed in one spot, that's how you get the stars. One day I'm gonna share those videos that break down how the stars work, because you could actually recreate it here.
Separate, and when you go to the biblical terms, I don't like doing that, because I know religion, because I'm not even religious. I just believe.
Oh, they call that the firmament, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it says God separated the waters from the waters. If you do that, you're lifting the waters from the ground and you're bringing it up top, right? And it makes it makes a lot of sense. Rain comes from there, from top. You get flooding. You ever seen those clouds that just drain water like it's a fucking faucet? I don't know if y'all ever seen that. These clouds is just like.
Okay, hang on a second. I gotta fix something. Okay, I'm back.
From the sky, it just drains water like it's a fucking waterfall. Not rain, it just falls like a waterfall. This is a real phenomenon. It's not some bullshit. You know, and even Werner von Braun, one of the Nazis who's part of NASA, on his burial ground, he quotes biblical texts about the firmament. Now, how can somebody who's in charge of NASA have that on his gravestone? Some people think he was just saying, you know what, I'll just throw a little truth there to cause some confusion. Or he said, you know what, I have my regrets, so I'll just tell the truth before I go, put this on my gravestone, whatever. But that's very contradicting of what your job was, for that to be on a gravestone. You know, I believe we're just on a level plane. I read the book of Enoch. There are 4 pillars. I have never seen it, so I believe it. I don't know it. There are 4 pillars, and the earth is round because the sun goes around, the moon goes around, the stars spin around. The sun represents hours, days. The moon represents months, weeks, and months. The stars, aka the signs, represents seasons and years. It matches every year. It's a giant fucking clock up there. That's what it is. It's always right. Nothing changes. But we're going through space. We're seeing different shit. They tell you some magical shit about, oh, it just takes forever. That star died billions of years ago, but it's still here. That's something that they have us justifying bullshit instead of actually using common sense.
Yeah, they said that the light is just reaching.
Yeah, it's now reaching us, right? But
but it's not there. It's not there anymore, though.
Cosmos.
Yeah, what's taking it so long to fucking go out? If we're seeing the same stars in the maps from ancient days, it makes 0 sense. There's the Georgia Guidestones. I don't know if anybody's been in Georgia and seen that.
I was actually justifying that for the longest time. The whole, it takes forever for, you know, the lights to reach us. And, you know, I saw Cosmos. I remember Neil deGrasse Tyson explaining that, and I was like, okay, it makes sense. Then I'm like, wait, no. How? Like, you said how, but your how is just, it died, so it takes... What? Then, you want to depict things in movies and say it's practical and say it's so possible that we can do this. If things died so long ago, what makes you think you're gonna get there when you send your satellite or space camera or whatever it is, your drone? Isn't it gonna die out? How you catching these galaxies? How you even go into that? They're still on the way. Some of them like still on the way, right? So you're gonna get past the point where it's already dead at some point. Is that what your excuse is gonna be if we don't get anything? When you're like, hey, so when we're like, hey, so what about that footage? It should be there by now, right? Yo, I can't believe some of these things. I'm like, I can't believe that. And I'm sure a lot of you are just hanging on these people's word. Because it's fun to think about, yo. Because it does heighten your imagination. It did that for me. Straight up, yo. It makes you think of a whole bunch of things that are not possible. You make it possible. Now we could just make it possible with technology on TV, CGI. So you can basically live it in a certain way, in the most vivid way possible. That's what's cool about, that's the only good thing I could say about this lie, but to say it's reality. You're living a lie at that point. You're not separating fantasy from reality, you know, because yeah, did I make this point here? I think I mentioned it, because when you think of here's one thing I always wondered, like when it comes to sidekicks and stuff, when they do the star charts and stuff, they never question, like, if we're in a ball, how come when I check the chart for someone who was born this, how come I could track it back and it's in that position? And how come I could dictate or figure out where it's gonna be next? Doesn't that make sense more on a sky clock than some ball doing this around the sun? You know, all 9 plus the moon is doing this, and the sun is doing that. It's going this way while doing this. But these things are supposed to be dying out. They're keeping up with us, but we still see them, although they're dead, and they rotate. Like, that's zombie shit. Like, at that point, how you really need to think about this, you know, because I know I'm prepared for it. Like, these people are gonna come to the comments of this video wherever I put it, and they're gonna call, like, because I realize when I share this stuff on Twitter, that's mainly where I share it, on Twitter, they DM me and insult me because they can't even put it in the like tweets as a response, because they know they don't have any proof. Just because the first thing I'm gonna ask is, where's your proof then? Like, I just shared how it's broken down, how it works, how it makes sense. Where's yours making sense? Because they know they can't, because they know our response will be theory. That person said theory. Neil deGrasse Tyson said this, but so they can't do it. So all they have is insults. That's what, just like I was saying in all my political videos and social videos. If they just believe something and they take one side of something, that's all they have for you. That's all they have for you. And they'll do mental gymnastics to justify it, thinking that's a point. That's no proof. I can show proof. I can make it make sense. You can't dispute it, but all you have are insults. You gotta think about that. Like, how does this harm you? That's the other thing. The only thing it does is take away a certain belief, but it doesn't mess you up. It doesn't mess you up. That makes you have something else to fight against. Since you're all love to fight people like me who are spreading the truth, why don't you aim that towards the people who lied to you in the first place, who were telling you lied to you? Because when we say this thing, we're not trying to make you enemies. I'm saying this, I'm not trying to make anybody on this podcast enemies. I'm informing them and imploring them to look it up themselves and have something to fight against. Because a lot of times on the show, we complain about what they do to us as a people, as a society, and as a people. Now we have an enemy we could point to, the government, NASA, you know, because they're taking all this money from us just to CGI space on the daily, where that money could go towards good causes and to people who are suffering. Yet we're sending money to another country in a war we're not involved in. But these people are getting millions millions a day, son. Imagine what that money could do for any cause, all causes, nonstop. And I could break down, I'm not stopping here. After this video, I'm just gonna show a whole bunch of proofs on how this is bullshit and why these people need to be stopped and why this needs to be focused on. So, insane.
A hole in it. When you look up, you see Polaris. No matter what time, it does not matter. That thing stays there. No matter what time of the day, the star of Polaris stays there. Does not move, because it's the North Star. It's in the center of the sky. And every other star around it keeps going. Planets, before they were called planets by NASA and Disney, they were called wandering stars. They're the only stars that move independently on their own. That's why we have the retrograde and things like that. Now think about it. I don't know if anybody believes in astrology, but doesn't it make more sense that whatever you were born under, the energy actually, because when I say stars, don't think of stars as being as billions miles away, because that already makes zero sense. But when it's closer now and it's caught in the sky, wherever, if it's in water or whatever it is, it's closer than we think. So if it's closer than we think, and we're seeing it all the time, when we're born under these things, and it defines our personalities and things of that nature, it makes more sense that it'll have an energetic effect on us, a spiritual effect on us, than planets, some balls in space, physical balls in space that has that has that effect from how many miles away? It just doesn't jive. That's why I believe the ancients knew more than us, but they try to make it look like these people were fucking primitive. And I don't believe so. They knew what was going down. They had technology that some things we don't think of. The technology we have is dirty technology. It's shit they sell to us that we have to pay for. Whereas the ancients were running on this shit all day. You know, cars were electric when cars first came out. They hid that shit. People had their garages ready.
And I recently found out it was mainly for women to drive, the electric versions. Because they I forgot the reason for it, but it was marketed towards women, the electric cars back in those days. But it existed back when cars came out. Whole bunch of videos. Most of the photos of people driving electric cars were of women doing it, because the guys were really driving like the motorized bicycles, and not motorized, electrical powered like bicycles and stuff like that, the one wheel things. That's what the guys are riding in, but the women were going in like basically coaches. You know, that's what a car was a coach, because that was something they wrote. Remember when it was being pulled by horses, and that they had the buggy and it was that coach? That was the design, so they made it electrical, and the woman drove in that. Like, you could find this, yo. You can find this. I found it. So, but they want to act like it's new, like it really, because when you're growing up and they're talking about electric cars, you're like, really, electrical cars? Because you grew up with crude oil. You grew up with petrol, so you don't know anything about electrical powered car other than the RC, right? So when you look back, you really dig in. You gotta be vigilant and dig into these things, and you'll see. Huh.
And charging their cars at night. And then when Ford and all of them came out, and the Rockefellers and all of them started doing this oil shit, they said, fuck this electricity. We're doing crude oil now. You're gonna pay for it. Now we're back to electricity. We're thinking it's new. No, it's old, but the caveat is they have control now because the technology changed. Now they can monitor us. Now they could control our cars because now we have computers in them. Whereas these things were computer independent. You're just running off.
Oh, yep. And that was it. Yeah. So there will be more videos coming out. Like, I'm going to be further breaking this down, showing more examples, and like destroying this ball we believe in, this heliocentric model, because yeah, you're gonna have to stop. Yeah. So good, like I'm telling you, just be more vigilant, have some like respect for people who are thinking outside the box, who discover new information, like, and don't treat them like they're retards or they're not capable, because look at who we're making fun of. People who are capable, people who we pay. But just because they say something against what we believe in or don't like, that takes it away. Right? Why can't you just live and let live, yo? You don't have to believe. That's the other thing. Like, you don't have to believe. I'm that type of person. I live and let live. If you don't want to believe anything I say or don't want to bother looking into what I'm looking in, that's fine. Just move on, yo. Don't try to crush someone because of their beliefs, because I don't fucking do that. I do it if it affects me in a bad way, personally. But straight up, like, to go hard, because you saw some of the reactions to when I brought it up, and you'll see I'll put the link in, so you'll see the beginning of the episode when they were talking about it, because I was kind of silent. I was like, oh, maybe I should talk about this in the end, because they went hard on Irving, and I was like, come on. I'm sure he said other things that y'all like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. But this thing now, because this is what he's talking about, you don't want to hear shit from him. That's what needs to stop, because again, he knows more, or flat earthers know more about what you believe in more than you do. So you just gotta check yourself. And yo, act accordingly, yo, act properly. Just show some respect. Look at it yourself before you want to go after somebody. Don't go around and just insulting people, because I'm confident to prove with this is gonna come out anyway. So how would you feel? Because I've seen this with plenty of things based on things I've spoken of in my previous videos. People live in a shame once they're proven wrong, that they don't even apologize. They just be quiet. They'll disappear from your radar altogether, and all they need to do is apologize and move on. All they need to do is apologize and join the fight, join the right side, make a change. There's no harm in that. No, I'm not gonna stay there and be like, I told you so. For what? Where does that get us? Where does that get us? I am not looking to do that. You know, I will do that to the people who keep going and will continue to fuck with other people. That's when you hear it. But once you wake up, I'm like, welcome. Now let's do this. Simple as that. Watch how this world improves when people start doing that. Cheers.